So colleagues, greetings yet again to Riga. This year, a wonderful wintry Riga, as in times past. It started just after our national holiday, November 18, and it's still minus with snow and always more snow on the way. So we get a chance to show our children a reminder of what it was like in our own childhoods. I'm very happy to be hosting. This is the third Jeff Leaders meeting, and we're meeting in a very tough time indeed, right? There is open war in Europe. Russia is waging the war in Ukraine. We are waiting for President Zelensky to also be able to join us. We have, I think, in this format, plenty to do. Of course, first and foremost, I think, is continuing to do everything to support Ukraine militarily, economically, humanitarily. As we have until now, it's important that we continue this and to stand up against any Russian blackmail. Russia maybe is trying to blackmail that peace, some truce should be declared, where this is absolutely not in the interest of Ukraine and could be used to regroup by Russia and to recommence a brutal attack. I think it's up to Ukraine to tell us what they need and when they need it, not the other way around. I'm convinced that we have to continue that effort for as long as necessary, until Ukraine wins and Russia loses. It's in all of our direct interest as the region that this is indeed what happens. And I think we have a rather clear task today, so to talk about what else we can do to help Ukraine and what we can do to strengthen our own security in the region, and how Jeff, of course, waiting for the accession of Sweden and Finland into the NATO alliance, then all of us will be in the NATO alliance, and how we can, as a complement to NATO, proceed into the future. So once again, I thank you all for making the trip to Riga. I think it's fantastic that we can meet yet again. Last time was in London, this time here in Riga. And I will pass the floor to Rishi, please.
Well, Prime Minister Krišjānis, thank you so much for hosting the summit. Thank you for having us all. As you said, it's an incredibly important time for this group to come together and discuss, first and foremost, the situation in Ukraine. And Vladimir and his people have really, I think, inspired us all. And they've demonstrated that thanks to their determination, Putin is realizing that he cannot win on the battlefield. And that means he's now escalating the conflict in a way that is bringing about, quite frankly, appalling consequences for the people of Ukraine. I saw it myself when I visited recently, and I'm sure we'll hear more about it soon. Now, the Jeff nations, all of us around this table, are some of Ukraine's closest friends and allies. We've taken a lead in supporting them thus far, and I know we will continue to do so. And for me, I think there are three priorities for us to consider as we think about next year. I think the first is ensuring that we deliver more military aid, and that military aid evolves to meet the situation that we're now facing. And that means more air defense systems, it means artillery, it means armored vehicles. For our part in the United Kingdom, we've pledged to match or exceed the £2.3 billion in aid that we provided this year, next year, and I would very much hope and encourage others around the table to do whatever they can to continue the strong support. I think secondly, as Krišjānis alluded to, we must be clear that any unilateral call for a ceasefire by Russia is completely meaningless in the current context. I think it would be a false call. It would be used by Russia to regroup, to reinforce their troops. And until they have withdrawn from conquered territory, there can and should be no real negotiation. But what we can do is think about that time now. Think about what we will do with regard to security assurances, and that is the planning that I think this group can play an important part in. And I think thirdly and lastly, we must continue to focus on degrading Russia's capability to regroup and to resupply. And that means going after its supply chains and removing the international support. Particularly, I'm thinking of Iran and the weapons that it's currently providing to Russia, which we should be very strong about calling out, as we have done in the United Nations. But also, the economic consequences for Russia must continue to be severe. And in that vein, the new oil price cap that the G7 have instituted and others have followed, I think can be very helpful. In conclusion, I'll just say that I think our collective resolve is clear, and we have and will continue to support Ukraine, and that is first and foremost because their security is our security. And at that moment, it is a great honor for me to invite my dear friend Vladimir to address us now. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Rishi. Prime Minister Sunak, Prime Minister Kariņš, and everyone in this room. I'm very grateful to these words of support. They are very important, and it's important that those priorities that you mentioned, and first of all, really, I want to thank all of you for supporting Ukraine and our struggle for freedom. When I took part in this forum that we have last time, and it was on the 20th day of the full-scale invasion, I urged you to help Ukraine, and through helping Ukraine, you could help yourself. This is how we are acting over this month, and I thank all of you for this, for your great support. Now, this is why we can see the most important thing, that Russian aggression, it can and it must fail. Our task now is to make sure it happens faster. Now, at this summit, I call upon you to do everything to accelerate the defeat of the occupiers. So let me be very precise and specific today, and very practical. Perhaps you've been expecting for a more political speech from me, but now the time is different. There's time for specific things. I mean, this night Ukraine was again attacked by Iranian drones, 35 Shaheds, and this very specific number and very specific name. These are Shaheds from a new batch that Russia has received from Iran, 250, so that's the total number of Shaheds now received by the terrorist states. Russian missiles and Iranian drones are constantly being used to hit primarily our energy sector. Now, you know all the details about this. Only one recent massive strike against Ukraine has affected over 20 million of our people. As the result of this strike, cities with millions of citizens and most of the Ukrainian regions were left without electricity. In total, as of the evening of December 16th, 22,408,000 Ukrainians were cut off from power supply. More than 10 million people got no water and heat supply. Now imagine the scale of this terror, and imagine that all of that, this terror can be stopped. Fellow leaders, right now, a lot depends on you, how this war will end. The more successful our defense forces are, the faster would Russian aggression fail. Winter is really a crucial time, the time when we can make decisions whose results will, in spring, will allow to outline the restoration of our territorial integrity and ensure that Russian revanchism will never again cross the border of Ukraine and therefore cross the European borders. And Mr. Prime Minister of UK, Rishi, when we can fully secure Ukraine's skies, now that will mean dismantling Russia's last major capability to terrorize Ukraine. And it will also mean dismantling the last Russia's great hope that they would be able to conquer our country and the people. And I ask you to increase the possibility of supplying air defense systems to our country and to help speed up the relevant decisions to be taken by our partners. 100% air shield for Ukraine, that would be one of the most successful steps against Russian aggression, and this step is required right now. Now, Prime Minister of Norway, Your Excellency, Mr. Stewart, I ask you to continue with your policy of defensive support to Ukraine next year, at least at the same level as it was this year. We already see some very tangible results. The NASAMS that have been provided to us, they've significantly reinforced our defense capabilities. I thank you for this. I ask you to increase the supply of such systems and missiles to them. Mrs. Minister of Defense of Netherlands. Now, for our defense operations to be more successful, we need modern vehicles, primarily tanks. There is no explanation to the fact that Ukraine has not yet received a decision on the supply of modern and effective tanks, in particular Leopards, and this is vitally important. So please talk about this decision with your partners. So the first will open this opportunity in terms of the supply of tanks to Ukraine. Will open more opportunities for other partners. We need the first step to be made. I ask to continue our cooperation on Soviet-type tanks, as well as the necessary shells, as well as the Harpoon systems and other artillery systems. Mr. Prime Minister of Sweden, Mr. Krišjānis, we've already discussed with you the possibility of reinforcing our artillery capacities. Now, artillery is the one that decides the situation on the battlefield. You know, the the large stock of artillery systems and shells, and how many of them are there in Russia. Now, we need to destroy this artillery sort of arrogance of the terrorist state. We need to increase our own capacities on the battlefield so that Russian leadership would soon understand that there's no chances for them in this aggression. You have this very good archer system, so I'm asking you to make a decision on them. You can also reinforce capacities in the protection of skies. This is the anti-aircraft missile systems, RBS 98 and Gripen aircraft. We have to have this result, which is a very historically significant result for us. Mr. President of Lithuania, my good friend Krišjānis, I thank you for the fact that Lithuania was one of the first countries to start helping us. And even before the start of the full-scale invasion, when we were preparing to defend ourselves, you helped us a lot. I thank you for this. And I ask you to continue such cooperation with us next year. We need both NASAMS, as you know, we need also Stingers that we can get should you make your decision. Now, Mr. Prime Minister of Latvia, Mr. Kariņš, I thank you for your unwavering support throughout all this period of Russian war. So let's reduce the time of this aggression, the duration of this aggression. You can help us with the artillery systems, so please make those decisions. Now, but I'm Prime Minister of Estonia, Madam Kallas, you also have this opportunity, the 155mm artillery shells, spare parts for howitzers. So let's intensify our cooperation. The Vice Prime Minister of Defense of Denmark, Mr. Jensen, you know our need for Caesar systems, which proven themselves wonderful in the battlefield. Now, these are the systems they're expecting from France, but they're vitally important now for Ukraine. We need your decision on the transfer of Caesars, and I ask you to continue our cooperation next year, which has already a very good level of cooperation, particularly in the anti-ship defense. Now, Mr. President of Finland, Mr. Niinistö, I thank you for providing us with the armored vehicles, those APCs which you've provided. That helps a lot. You have shells with 122 and 152 caliber, which are extremely important. You have electronic warfare, anti-drone systems, the MLRS. So please maintain the same high level of cooperation that we've already achieved. The sooner we restore our border control, the stronger would be your security. I'm confident about this. And fellow Prime Minister, Madam Jakobsdottir, I thank you for your initiatives on demining and for this humanitarian leadership. I ask you to expand our cooperation next year to create even more opportunities to protect our people from this Russian mine terror. Fellow friends, today, on St. Nicholas Day, there's this Eastern Rite, and the Russian terrorists gave Ukrainian children new hits, new strikes. I ask you to support our country right now with a clear decision to provide everything that can not only preserve the existing dynamics on the battlefield in Ukraine, but also to speed up the movement of our defense forces towards the victory, because our victory, that will be the victory of every single one of you. It is the victory of Ukraine, your nations, and I believe that this is something that is expected by the whole world. Now, it happens so that Ukrainian children, in their letters to St. Nicholas, they ask for air defense, for weapons, for victory, a victory for themselves, for all the Ukrainians. They understand everything. our children. They understand this. So let us act. I thank you for your attention. I thank you for your support. And glory to Ukraine.
Vladimir, thank you very much. We are all in total solidarity with you. And thank you for so powerfully highlighting the incredible humanitarian cost to your people due to the bombardment of civilian targets by Russia, particularly at this time of year. But thank you also for highlighting very practically the extra support that you need from all of us to ensure that you can continue to fight and reclaim the territory that is rightfully yours. You have our total support, and we will spend the rest of our time today talking about how best we can continue to support you and get you everything that you need. But it's a great privilege to have you with us as always. Thank you for talking so eloquently and powerfully, and leave it to us to then take that all forward and come back to you with the extra help that you need. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All the best. Good luck. And thank you and your countries and your societies for such big support for Ukraine. Bye-bye.
Bye, Vladimir. Thank you. Perfect. Look, I think Vladimir is always very clear about, as I said, the very real cost. I can tell you, actually, amongst us, when I was there, to see the things that Russia is doing on the ground, it was quite hard. I mean, they are putting landmines everywhere that they are leaving, landmines that we have all banned, supposedly, and they're leaving booby-trapped explosive devices in everyday objects, children's